Hello guys, you're watching Technical Bench YouTube channel and I'm Kunal. In this video we can learn what is CSS. So let's get started. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. We can discuss this in detail in a few minutes. Let us first understand where it is stand in the whole web development ecosystem and its importance in the whole web architecture. Every web page you visit consists of three technologies: HTML, JavaScript and CSS. HTML uses to create the overall blueprint, or you can say the structure of the web page. JavaScript is used to add the behavior to your web page. For example, suppose you want to open a pop-up when clicking on a button. For these kind of things we use JavaScript. And what is the use of CSS then? CSS is used to add styling to the web page, or you can say the presentation, how the page look like. For example, what kind of fonts, colors, animation, position, everything that relate to style we can do with the help of CSS. So what is the power of CSS? I have installed an extension Web Developer. So if I disable the style of this page, or you can say the CSS for this page, the page look like this. Do you want to visit a web page which look like this? Please write in the comment. I'm sure you don't. So this is the power of CSS. Let me enable the CSS for this page. Okay, so now you understand the power of CSS. So now back to detailed description about the CSS. CSS consists of three words: cascading, style and sheet. Cascading means that CSS has a precedence in which CSS apply to an element or tag. It means we will override rule of lower precedence with higher precedence. If you still do not understand this, you will get in just a few minutes when I discuss the type of CSS. And the style. Style, as its name suggests, it used for styling. Next, sheet. We can create a custom CSS in a file that you can use on different HTML pages. Now we discuss the syntax of CSS. CSS syntax is pretty easy. The selector points to the HTML element you want to style, and the selector could be a tag, class, ID, pseudo class selector or pseudo element selector. The declaration block contain one or more declarations separated by a semicolon. We are taking an example in which we are styling a h1 tag and applying a red color. For declaration include a CSS property name and value separated by colon. Multiple CSS declaration are separated with semicolon, and declaration block are surrounded by curly braces. So our first declaration is the color and our second declaration is the font size, as you can see in your screen. Next, type of CSS. So there are three ways we can add CSS into a web page. So I give you example of each one. So this is a simple web page. First we discuss about the inline style. So we can add inline style by simply adding a style attribute inside of a tag. So in this case we adding a style attribute and equal to, and in quotation we add the CSS property. In this case we are adding a color property and the property value is red. So we are applying a inline style to this h1 tag with red color. So in this way we can add inline style to an element. So as you can see in the browser, the h1 tag is red in color. Okay, so we have added an inline style. Next is the internal CSS. We can add internal CSS by using style tag, and the style tag must be inside the head tag, as you can see here, and we are adding blue color to the h2 tag here, and our CSS apply to the h2 tag. Next is the external CSS. To add the external style sheet, you need to add a link tag and use the href attribute, and you need to specify your CSS file link in the href attribute. So I have a YouTube folder in which I have two files, index.html and index.css. So I give this index.css path to my index.html file in the href attribute, as you can see here, and this is my index.css file. I have added a background color to light green, add h1 to black color and h3 to purple color. But one thing you note here is that I have given h1 tag a black color, but we are saying it is in red. Why? It is because in the inline styling we added H1 to red. So inline CSS has higher precedence over external and internal CSS. So I think now you understand the cascade meaning of the CSS. It means that CSS styling apply according to the precedence, and this precedence rule in CSS known as specificity. Okay, so we learn how we can add external style into our CSS, and we can also use this external CSS file in another web page as well. So we create a new HTML file, index1.html, and add the same CSS file here as well, which is index.css, and write learning CSS. If I save this file and open in the browser, so index1.html, and hit enter, and you can see the same styling apply in index1.html as well. So we can use this external CSS file to different HTML pages where we want, and it is the best way to write CSS. If we are working on very big project and we want to apply similar style to different page, we can use external CSS, and it is the best way to use CSS. Next thing, why learn CSS? If you learn web development, you need to spend some time learning these technologies like HTML, CSS and JavaScript, because these are the basic building block of web. If you work on any framework like React, Angular or Vue, the end result after compilation would be HTML, CSS and JavaScript, because browser only understand these technologies. They do not understanding React. Like in React we write JSX, browser do not understand JSX. So it's worth spending time to learning these technologies. If you want me to create a separate tutorial on CSS, or you want me to create a course on CSS, please write in the comment section. And next thing is, what after CSS? There are many front-end CSS framework like Bootstrap, Foundation, Pure, and if you have gained some basic understanding of CSS, suggest you to spend some time learning this framework, because company these days work on these framework because it's very tedious to write every single line of CSS. And if you want me to create tutorial series on these framework like Bootstrap, please write in the comment section. So a quick recap. First we discuss about where the CSS stand in the whole web development ecosystem, its importance, CSS syntax, type of CSS, why learn CSS, and what after CSS. So in this video we learn about CSS, and I'm trying my level best to give you the best possible material. If you watching this video on Facebook or Instagram, please follow us, and if you watching this on YouTube, please subscribe this channel and click on the bell icon for the latest video updates, and like this video. Thank you very much.